G'day you mob, and welcome to this episode of the series that I'm doing with Jake Farr-Wharton and Greg Savage from The Pouch, the podcast on political expressions. So today we're going to explain for you a political expression that is used in Australian English all the time. Don't forget to go and check out their podcast, The Pouch, if you want to learn about all things Australian politics. So guys, I hope you enjoy this informal, fun discussion. Three guys getting together, having a bit of a laugh, whilst talking about Aussie politics and also trying to teach you some Australian English at the same time. All right, guys, so tap the currawong and let's get into it. All right, word number 2, blue ribbon seat. What is a blue ribbon seat?
Well, a blue ribbon seat is generally thought of as a safe seat. So it's a seat that, in many cases is thought that the person who currently retains that seat can do anything and still keep that seat. They might.
What do you mean by seat, Jake? What's a seat?
Oh, that's a great question. It's a literal seat. Yes, we were discussing that early on in the podcast. If you remember,
we did. Yeah. I fell for it for like 5 seconds, and it made for a pretty good podcast. I was like, well, why are they called seats? And Jake goes, oh, there's a literal seat. There was a literal seat, like historically, and I was like, there wasn't. Like, there's
you
no
have
way.
to sit in the corner of your state. Yeah, no, it's.
I was like, I'm out of the loop, but I'm not out of the loop that much.
There is actually a literal seat. It's within the House or the Senate or the council, essentially, that you hold your position in. So when you're elected, you hold what's called a seat, and it is quite literally a seat in the House of Representatives of your state or federally in the Senate.
That correlates to like a geographical space.
Correct, to an electorate.
Australia. Yeah,
to an electorate within Australia.
Yeah.
Interesting. So are your electorates all blue ribbon seats, or they tend to be, they can flip?
Well, mine is. I've got a very, very blue ribbon seat. I live in rural Queensland, which means what, Pete?
Bob Catter.
No. I did actually. I ran into Robbie Catter last year. He's a parliamentarian in Queensland politics. He has he runs he's in the Bob Catter Alliance, I think it's called, the party, the Bob Catter Alliance, and he is the son of Bob Catter. And he's an interesting chap. It's very, very right wing, very interesting issues.
I've got one political bent, and that is just kill the Crocs. Everyone, kill the Crocs.
That's his dad. Yeah. He's he does want things
like
killed,
crocodiles.
but he don't. They don't. Yeah, he doesn't. They're killing too many people.
Mine's not a blue ribbon seat. I live in Macquarie, who's Sue Templeman, who no one really knows, unless you live in the Blue Mountains, because she fights for our NBN, so that's great. But I did live in a blue ribbon seat. I live in Kevin Rudd's seat of Griffith in Brisbane, and there was just no way he was losing that.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about him, to get into sort of the questions without just continuing with the vocab? But do you feel like he feels like a baddie from Star Wars that was on, like he was on the Force and then he went to the dark side? Because he seems to have this real. There's something behind his eyes whenever he's in interviews about after he was backstabbed by Julia Gillard that just seems to have really turned him, right? He seems bitter.
I love him with a passionate fire that will never extinguish. I disagree with you from the premise that he might be or could be considered bad or negative in many ways. I think he is in many ways he is the. I'm trying to use parlance that will come across well, which I shouldn't
not get
use
you
the
fired.
Word parlance. Essentially, he's the left of the left. So he is a very progressive member of a party that used to be very progressive and is now staunchly centrist. So I feel like he has retained those progressive values, and as a consequence, that puts him in opposition with many of the vocal members of his party who are, again, quite centrist now and, essentially having to rebuff his progressiveness.
Yeah, I find him an interesting character. I don't know.
I just love the way that he is such an elitist, whilst still, we were having this conversation last week, Greg, about Malcolm Turnbull. Malcolm Turnbull, I like him for some parts of his, political ideology, because he again is quite a progressive individual, whilst maintaining that sort of fiscal conservatism that is, a part of the, the conservative agenda of Australian politics. But Malcolm Turnbull puts a lot of people off because he is. He loves being an elitist. He was a very high-powered lawyer. He fought for very extraordinarily wealthy billionaires, and as a consequence, is a very wealthy individual himself.
Yeah. He would be one of the richest prime ministers we've had, right?
Yeah,
if not
the.
Yeah.
Well, he paid $200 million to keep the Liberals in power.
Jesus Christ.
That's almost as much. Well, sorry, actually, that's four times as much as
Clive Palmer spent on his ads.
Yes, Clive Palmer spent $50 million.
69, I think it was. It was ridiculous.
It was a great success. Just ask anyone.
Yeah. I got to look forward to seeing his face every day.
He didn't actually want to win a seat.
Yeah. Well, he got 100% of no seats, so it was a success.
There's a great. If anyone's interested in that sort of history, there is a great. Little mini series called The Killing Season, which you can get on ABC, and it is a great watch. Like, it's just sort of, it gives you a bit of knowledge around that time, and you get Julia Gillard's perspective, you get Kevin Rudd's perspective. Yeah,
I feel like Kevin Rudd is an anti-hero. That classic anti-hero archetype where he's good, but he does good by doing a couple of not so good things.
I suppose to think about your audience, Pete, too. Like, I imagine that Australians have a bit of a history, an unwanted history about the fact that we change leaders all the time.
Yeah.
We have a bit of a reputation for that.
Well, we do now, right? Because in the past we didn't. We had Howard for 20 years or something ridiculous.
Yep. And Bob Hawke and Paul Keating, they were both very long-serving prime ministers.
But that Julia Gillard, Kevin Rudd sort of wrangle was the first part of that. It was the kickoff, which was the football game of prime ministers. What happened? We had
Rudd win 2007, took it from Howard, and then got started all the in-house politics with the flipping and flopping leaders, right? And
Sorry, go on.
That's something that people don't really understand, right? They see that Australians vote for a local person or a political party, right? But we don't actually vote on the leader.
At least wave high.
Yeah, that's it. So Jake's wife's in the background.
No, we don't vote for the leader of the. You don't vote for we don't vote for Scott Morrison. You don't go to the polls and you tick off Scott Morrison. You tick off the person who is your what we call the local member. And so for me, that person might be Sue for the Liberal Party or whoever else is for the Labor Party. I tick off those people, and if they win enough seats, then that generally, I mean, if they win a majority of the seats in the Parliament, then that party wins government, and the leader of that party is the Prime Minister.
Yep. All right,
how did I do, Jake?
Let's bring it back.
You did really well. I'd actually scripted a section on that, so.
Thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learnt a little something new, and I hope that you improved your listening comprehension, as I know that sometimes it's difficult to listen to three native speakers all talking over the top of each other about a certain, topic in conversation, but that's the whole point of this sort of series. It's to give you exposure to advanced English discussions, chats, everything like that, so that you can work on your listening comprehension whilst also learning about Australia, Australian politics, and some English vocab about politics. Don't forget to go and check out Jake and Greg's podcast, The Pouch. You can find this via any good podcast application for free. They publish an episode every weekend about Australian politics. Anyway, until next time, guys, I hope you have a killer week, and I'll see you soon.